Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 12 special Air Force jobs, duties, and/or assignments. But before we get into that, let's cover some of these basics. My name, as you might know from the name of the channel, is Michael A. Inman, and I'm an airman in the United States Air Force. I upload videos on Mondays, so if you like military and/or Air Force content, definitely hit the subscribe button and make sure you turn the notification bell to on so you know when I do upload brand new videos. Without further ado, let's get into these 12 unique Air Force jobs that you should consider. So the first thing is MTI. Now, of course, you've seen a lot of scary videos online about how MTIs can be very intimidating, but I don't know if you listened to the lyrics of one of the Jodies from my Jody video, but MTIs can also be very, critical in your journey from trainee or recruit to airman. The code for MTI is 8 Bravo 0. And so that's for basic training and also basic training for officer training school. So let's say you go throughout your military career and then you actually commission, so then you go to OTS to become an officer, even though you started out enlisted. There are, of course, MTIs that do this kind of the same thing for officers in training. And so you actually can be an MTI for officers in training, or of course you can be an MTI for basic training recruits, like I was and like you probably will be soon. You also can be an MTL, which instead of 8 Bravo 0, their code is 8 Bravo 1. And an MTL are the instructors and kind of the people who provide discipline when you get to tech school. So assuming you make it through basic training, you then will continue on to tech school and learn the specifics of your job career field. Continuing on, the last option is 8B2. So we've already talked about 8B0, we've already talked about 8B1, now 8B2 is actually an MTI assigned to the Air Force Academy. Now, I think that's kind of a bad and bougie assignment, but I also don't know what I'm talking about. So just know that 8B2 is an MTI assigned to the Air Force Academy, and so maybe, well, most definitely, there are going to be some different cultural things related to doing the job there. Regardless, you are going to be instructing people who are trying to become a different version of themselves and/or trying to, let's just say, become a functional entry-level employee in the world's greatest Air Force. Let's talk about another unique role that you can get during your military career that's not quite a normal job. It's kind of a special duty. That would be First Sergeant. The code for that is 8F0. Now, what is a First Sergeant, you may ask? Well, the First Sergeant is the person in a squadron which any airman, no matter their rank and really no matter their situation, can go to for guidance and to pretty much loop in someone that is a part of leadership to gain wisdom, to get advice, and also to just keep them, to let them know that some real stuff is going on and that you kind of need some help. So you need them to connect you to resources that will help you in your unique situation. You need them to connect you to, let's say, professionals who can give you guidance for whatever you're going to, and or you just need the military to know you're struggling a bit, and or you just have something very unique that needs, that needs to be addressed, and you're not quite sure the people in your leadership pipeline would know how to handle it because it's a very unique situation, and or you need some higher up kind of muscle power to get a solution pushed through. He or she needs to have a lot of empathy because people are bringing a lot of unique and sometimes trying situations to their attention, and they're really asking you for help. So this is clearly not available to anyone as a job you can take entering the Air Force. However, if it is something that you feel you would be good at and you really care about being someone connected to the leadership of a squadron who's there for all of the people in the squadron when they're really going through it. So whether all their stuff in a move has been lost and is gone, and or they're going through a divorce and it's really emotionally draining and really starting to affect their work, and or they just need guidance on a multitude of things, and maybe it's so unique of a question or a predicament that the people in their leadership pipeline, their supervisor and their supervisor's supervisor, recommended that they go speak with the first sergeant because she's really wise, and she's gone through all of the trainings that allow her to provide recommendations for next steps and how to bring certain situations to an ideal resolution. The next special duty I want to talk about is Honor Guard. And Honor Guard comes in two different flavors. One is local, meaning Honor Guard for the base that you're assigned to. And then there's the national level Honor Guard, which of course is based in Washington, D.C. And of course does, whether it be funeral ceremonies, changing of the flags, or VIP presentations or events, they are going to be going throughout all of the DC and kind of Maryland area, representing the Air Force at those events. So if you like formalities and, if you like the part of BMT that's very much part of making sure your uniform is correct in every single way, if that was something that you actually kind of enjoyed a bit, and learning how to hold yourself and how to move with precision, you may be a great fit for Honor Guard. And usually, it may change from base to base, but the way I've heard about it is that you will do a 6-month contract with that Honor Guard unit. So if it's local, you literally are still owned by your squadron. Let's say you're a mechanic, but when you get approved to be an Honor Guard, you just kind of leave your squadron or you leave your unit for 6 months and you join theirs. So even though they still kind of have you, you're kind of being shared. You don't do both jobs. You are entirely Honor Guard when you go Honor Guard. But in the system, I think both have you. I'm not positive though, but I think both kind of claim you during that 6 months, even though you're entirely committed to Honor Guard. Next is Recruiter. The specialty codes are 8RO or 8R0. Recruiters spend their time trying to match people who want to join the Air Force with roles that the Air Force needs to fill. The fifth unique opportunity or special duty that you may look forward to after joining the military is a defense attache support. And the specialty code for that is 8P1. Now, I'm going to read this so I get it right, but a defense attache support generally is the person who manages logistics and administrative functions. They execute budget requirements and work clearances, meaning when people need to interface with the attache, they are the ones kind of in the office making sure that the clearances for those individuals and or those planes and or the aircraft or ships are all worked in advance so that the clearances are approved by the time the ships and planes and people need to enter that country. They are supervising the foreign national office staff, so they are of course supervising some of the individuals they work with who live in that country and who are from that country. And then finally, they do provide direct support to any VIP visits to that embassy. And so if any of that sounds cool, there are 3 different roles that enlisted individuals can work in as part of the Defense Attache Support Team. The first is something called an Operations Coordinator. The second is an Operations Non-Commissioned Officer. And finally, there's an Airborne Mission Technician. But it's very competitive. So make sure that when you are doing your first job that brought you into the Air Force, do it well. Duh. Please do well and communicate your interest in this special duty to your supervisor. Next, we have Military Dog Trainer. And the specialty code for that is 3PO-X1A. This is a special duty that is part of the Security Forces career field. And so you not only will have to come in as Security Forces individual, but you also will need to work as a kind of regular Security Forces personnel for 18 months before you can transition into being a military dog trainer. And who wouldn't love that job? I mean, I don't know if I would, but that's neither here nor there. I love dogs, I love cats, but I don't know if I'd love that job. But it sounds like a lot of people would love that job, like a dream come true, and it probably makes you feel like you're in some movie where your best friend is a canine and you see their wins and you see their losses and you guys are so close, you get it. The next unique opportunity is a religious affairs airman, and the specialty code is 5R0. As the name suggests, you are someone that's actually supporting the chaplain, whether it be in the squadron, in the group, in the wing, or just on the base. You support the chaplain in what they do, and you support the religious accommodations on base. And so it's not necessarily Christian, it's not necessarily Jewish. The chaplain, of course, the chaplains do hail from a certain religious background, but their job is to advocate for religious accommodations for anyone of any religious faith. So you will support that mission. Next, we have the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, or more succinctly, it's pretty much the Air Force's FBI. So they are both investigating crime within the Air Force, but they're also investigating, let's say, counterterrorism issues, or they're handling counterintelligence situations. And so what does that mean? That means if there's rumors based on, some legitimate evidence or based on something legitimate that you were doing the drugs on the weekend, OSI is going to knock on your door one day. It is not going to be good. You're going to get in their car, period. So that's one thing. Second thing, they are, of course, if there's ever any threats to military personnel, they are, of course, very much a party to the group or the collective of individuals or offices that address that. And then finally, the final thing I mentioned was counterintelligence. So I don't know, let's say I'm a cook, but I don't know, I'm always trying to collect information on the people who eat in the cafeteria where I work, and I'm trying to funnel that information to parties who shouldn't be getting that information. Well, God willing, OSI finds out about it, and that, justice is served. So whether you're arrested, kicked out, I don't know what happened, I'm not really sure. And they are federal officers, which is really cool. That means you're pretty much, cousins with the FBI agents. You're like, we're all cousins, isn't that great? Their specialty code is 7S0, and that is not open to people immediately entering the Air Force for the first contract, but you can cross-train and eventually become an OSI agent after your first contract. Next, we have EO, and this is our 9th unique special duty or special assignment, and the specialty code for EO, which is equal opportunity, is 3F4. And 3F4, or equal opportunity or EO personnel, they make sure that we have an equitable and fair workplace and culture to work in as members of the Air Force. So it is their job to make sure that they squash out the isms, so racism, sexism, ageism, all of those things. If that's something that you're passionate about, you're a passionate advocate, and you want to push forward a culture that is equal, fair, and just, then definitely look into the special duty of working as 3F4 in equal opportunity. And now to bring this home, we actually have 3 special opportunities or additional duties that are very exciting that I hope you stick around to listen about. The first additional duty is called the Heartland Band, which is either similar to Honor Guard, going to be regional, or the Premier Band, which of course is like headquartered in DC. The regional band specialty code is 3N1, and the Premier Band's specialty code is 3N2. And so the website is actually in the description below for the current vacancies for both regional bands and the Premier Band, and also the audition process and how to package the materials for the audition process. That is a very unique opportunity because in the Heartland Band, whether it be regional or Premier, you are a paid musician. So you have your comrades who are all very talented musicians who made it through the filtering process as well. You now have a steady paycheck with incredible benefits because you're in the military, and you get to travel to whether it be fancy events to provide music, whether it be holiday events, so Memorial Day, July 4th, whether it be promotional ceremonies for important people, and or maybe a funeral. The point is you are a paid musician with incredible benefits and literally getting to do what you love in such a stable manner. So they have opportunities for vocalists, percussionists, guitarists, brass instrumentalists. Worth noting that the regional band travels more though, because a lot of the premier bands things actually are going to be in the DMV or the DC, Maryland, Virginia kind of bubble. But if you're in a regional band, you're just doing a lot more on the weekends and you're probably covering a multitude of states. So keep that in mind. And then finally, the premier band ensures you make a higher ranks pay upon selection due to your demonstrated high level of ability. Next, we have the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Coordinator, which there's the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response SAPR. SAPR Coordinator, Victim Advocate, or Volunteer Victim Advocate. All that's to say are that these people ensure that victims of sexual assault are protected, treated with dignity and respect, and receive timely access to appropriate medical treatment and services. Additionally, these responsibilities are listed as an additional duty for those passionate about protecting those in need and connecting them to these resources that will help them after that traumatic event. As we said, this is focused on sexual assault, and so if that's something that you are passionate about, whether it be prior experience, it being an experience of someone close to you that you provided them comfort and now you want to provide other people comfort, and or it's just something you are passionate about, I would say please reach out to your squadron leadership and or supervisor just to ask, how do you become a SAPR coordinator on your base or at your deployment location. The final additional duty, or the 12th opportunity that we were talking about, the 12th and last opportunity we're talking about in this video, is to become an Air Force athlete. Now, I laugh because one, I know a lot of you probably just pricked your ears like, what? What does that mean? But also it's funny because I could never be the guy. Man, I have played, I think 11 to 12 sports in some kind of capacity, meaning either formally taking lessons, so like taking lessons in a formal nature, and or actually being on a team for it. There's been 12 sports throughout my life that I've been a part of or tried out. And I was not great at any of them. I was mediocre, maybe even almost good at a couple, but man, we kept trying. We kept on trying. So what does it mean to be an Air Force athlete? 3 things, or really 2 things, are to be mentioned. First, there is the World Class Athlete Program, or the WCAP, and that is designed to allow elite athletes the opportunity to train and compete in national events to make the Olympics. So let's say you are Olympics capable, but you also want to serve your country. Well, you're actually able to join the military, get a job that hopefully you find fulfilling or fulfilling enough, while also be identified by the Air Force as someone who could make it to the Olympics and be invested in. So you're allowed to train, you're enabled to be connected to incredible resources, whether that be coaches or facilities, to hopefully still get you to the Olympics. That is what the World Class Athlete Program does as part of at least the Air Force. It may be across the branches, but I know with the Air Force it's called the WCAP, World Class Athlete Program. Nextly, if that's not your flavor, there's also Armed Forces Sports. Now, what does that entail? Pretty much, each branch's top players across sports such as basketball, soccer, track and field, tennis, etc., they all compete across their units to, it's like a tournament, to see who's the best. And then within their units, they eventually find out who's kind of the main, let's say, basketball players for the Air Force. That's how high you got. You're doing great. And then after that, you compete as representatives of your branch you compete with the representatives from the other branches. So it could be like the Air Force all-star like women's basketball team competing against the Marines women's basketball team. And eventually, the best compete in the International Military Sports Council's World Military Championships, in which if you were a basketball player for the Marines or the Air Force or any of the other branches, and you demonstrated ability so strong that you then were selected to be a representative of the Air Force, of the United States Department of Defense military as a, let's say, female basketball player or men's basketball player or tennis player, that means you are going to be the U.S. military representative in basketball that will compete against, let's say, the German basketball players for their home military, and for the Spaniards basketball players for their Air Force and military or whatever. I just think that's so cool. I heard of one person, shout out to you if you're watching this video. I heard of one person who I think competed in Ramstein, Germany, because they were that good. They made it to the, U.S. military all-star basketball team, and then the world championship was in Germany. So they got to represent the U.S. military and compete against our allies. So that actually wraps up these 12 unique opportunities in the Air Force, these things that are also not usually accessible when you're just first joining. But once you get in, if you play your cards right and you're a good worker, if you're good at your job, then you can transition into these unique opportunities. So I will see you next week. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.